Regional Scientific Webinar of Pakistan Physiological Society. The title of today's seminar is Physiology Skill Not Limited to Physiology Laboratories. We are formally starting today's session with the recitation from Holy Quran.
चलो भाई शुरू करो। ये भी चल रहा तुम्हारा बहुत वीडियो बन रहा है।
It's hardly possible because what is the striking analogy? Or you let you know what is the striking analogy? People will be this verse. That's fine. Sales of life. Yes. If you know what that is, it is a fire, intensely hot.
Now I request all of you to raise for the national anthem of Pakistan.
चला दो। ये तो सूरह कार्य चला दिया
चलाना नेशनल एंथम
ये है नेशनल एंथम।
साथियों इधर साथ इधर
इंटरनेट नहीं चल रहा। चलिए मैं चलाता हूँ या तो उसे छोड़ो। Thank you.
Now I request the President, Pakistan Physiological Society, Professor Dr. Umar Ali Khan, for introduction and welcome remarks for today's scientific webinar.
Can all of you hear us?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. I am so much, very much thankful to Jan Aslam Saab, who is not present here, but he has sent his presentation, which will be presented by Professor Ghulam Mustafa Lodi. Professor H.R. Ahmed, a very well-known and eminent physiologist with a philosophical touch in physiology, and we welcome him also.
Okay. J'ai la voix. Comment allez-vous? मुझे गाइड कौन करे? कोई गड़बड़ हो गया? आप हम कुछ कह सकते हैं नहीं ना? नहीं सर, क्या कह सकते हैं? अभी क्या शुरू नहीं हुआ है?
Professor H.R. Ahmed Saab, Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum. Yes. How are you, Dr. Umar? Nice
Very
meeting
fine,
you.
sir. Thank you very
After
much.
such a long time.
Ji, sir.
Wow. We should hold a physiology symposium in Murray or Nathia Gali. That
Sure,
would be
sir,
good.
inshallah, we'll do it inshallah
Yes,
in August,
so that
probably.
we can learn new aspects of physiology. And
Sure, sir, and we really need to sit with you and to get ourselves sharpened.
yeah, physiology has been transformed into physiological sciences.
Yeah, you're right.
I have written an article in SAP. I will send you if you will send me your email.
So we'll start with presentation of Jan Aslam. His audio is not working, so Professor Mustafa Lodi Saab will be presenting.
वो PowerPoint वो वाली चला देनी
चला दे PowerPoint. So here, can you see the presentation?
Presentation is visible to everyone, please.
Yes.
Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. The title of this presentation is, next please, Physiology Skills Not Limited to Physiology Labs. Next. The Claude Bernard has said, who is called the father of physiology. He has said the medicine is the mother of physiology. Next, please.
Main types of
physiology is, there are many types of physiology: the medical physiology, animal physiology, plant physiology, cell physiology, electrophysiology, and comparative physiology. So physiology is not limited to one span of medicine. It has a vast coverage because it is telling us the working of the animals, plants, cells, as well as human beings. And these vast majorities are present in the field of physiology. Next, please. Now, physiology skills basically equip the physiologist to become a critical thinker. The physiologist can apply, analyze, and integrate the information to generate evidence-based solutions to physiological problems. They can communicate effectively. They can behave in a socially and scientifically responsible manner, and they can demonstrate laboratory skills proficiently. So physiology skills are equipping the scientists with all these domains. Next, please. The skills of physiologist, so it means that person is an advanced mathematician. He is an analytical thinker, the problem solver, and that person has more capability to work as a good team member and perform a good teamwork. And also the scientific method application can be done efficiently by the physiologist. Another use is specialized equipment use. And obviously, in the last but not the least, communication skills are developed in a well-mannered by working as a skill lab in the physiology labs. Next, please. So the placement for skilled physiologists, they can work for a variety of organizations. That may include the non-profit organizations, the healthcare institutions, government authorities, medical schools, universities, and educational institutions. So this is basically telling us that, previous please, okay, the physiologists are not only the doctors who are teaching the medical students only, the physiologists and the scientists who develop from the physiology labs, they can do a vast variety of tasks which may range from the non-profit organization and government authorities to universities and educational institutions. Next, please. So these placement can be in fitness facilities, biotechnologies labs, in pharmaceutical firms, private research facilities, medical editing facilities, medical education facilities. So these all are the placements for skilled physiologists who will work as true physiologists. Next, please. Now, for physiologists, they may not only be limited to the doctors who are doing the post-graduations in the physiology, that may on, previous slide, please. That may also include the BS, MS physiology and PhD physiology. That's why the Higher Education Commission of Pakistan has designed a curriculum for the BS and MS physiology also, that those people can also lead to PhD physiology. So the track can be for doctors also, and the track can also be for non-doctors, many of which are working in our country, Pakistan also, and in SAARC countries. Next, please. So this was the curriculum division of Higher Education Commission of Pakistan who designed the curriculum. Next, please. And they have given the layout of BS physiology, which involved the physiology scheme of studies, as well as the skills required to become a lab bench work involvement and to become a true physiologist, and which include the study skills for anatomy and physiology. Next, please. So thank you very much. This is basically giving you the idea of a physiologist working beyond the physiology lab in different domains of society. Next presentation is by, the previous presentation was by General Aslam. He has sent us the audio also. We all are thankful to him. Unfortunately, due to some technical reason, we couldn't play that audio, and we have just given the overview of that presentation. The next presentation is by the Professor H.R. Ahmed, Professor of Physiology, Aga Khan University, Karachi. The topic of presentation of Professor H.R. Ahmed is cardiovascular examination, link between physiology and pathophysiology. Professor H.R. Ahmed, please.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Umar, for having such a meeting at the national level and the blessing of Zoom that we are from long distance can be connected to each other. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
The problem I faced when I was dealing with the residents of cardiology at Aga Khan University, that they were able to practice cardiology, but without foundation of basic cardiology. And maybe basic cardiology becomes like a grammar of English, that when you speak English, you don't care of grammar. Grammar is already integrated into your neuronal network. but this could be, but however, how to bring the matter to. So now we have in cardiology, we started learning not through teaching, but through learning. And a learning group of 10 to 15 residents, where the physiologist is interacting with it. In the University of Kuwait, every hospital has 2 basic scientists, and they are the center of scholarship and research. Around this center are working the clinicians and residents and students or whoever they want to. So this is a good model. So basic and clinical science should be integrated, should interact, should have brainstorming, should have dinner, should have breakfast together. Only then they can understand each other. Now the problem what we have is that we have a culture of memorization. So since the medical curriculum is like a forest, in contrast to the other discipline, physics, chemistry, maths, so they have 1 or 2, 3 trees to learn, but we have many trees to learn. So the content is huge, and how to titrate the content is the name of the game. And therefore, integrated concept might be one way of going. And say like morphology is a stage, and molecules are dancing on the stage, and the function is called physiology. So, or you can say anatomy is a hardware, and biochemistry and physiology are software. And when they interact, we can get a good result. So how to put the 3 subjects together that can reduce the content and reduce the number of trees. And anyway, medical students are very smart because they have developed their own strategy of learning. And so they have a selective learning, strategical learning, but strategical learning does require a very competent method. Without method, the strategic learning would not work. Now, I give you the example that in a given week, say in cardiology, we have lectures on cardiac rhythm. And then we have a lab on ECG. Then we have a tutorial. And then we have a problem of cardiac rhythm. So if the physiologist and biochemist, anatomist team together will take care of this week, the result would be very productive. And instead of if we go discipline-based in a sequential manner, so physiology should be turned into physiological sciences. That means now we have to integrate the first integration, anatomy, physiology, biochemistry, and then comes the second integration, and that is microbiology, pathology, pharmacology. In this respect, we should first do the modeling of 4 microorganisms and study the cell, molecular, and genetics of each microorganism, and CMG. And then see that if one of the microorganisms has infected, what pathology does it create? Then we study the pathology. And then we have studied the pathology, then we should look for how could we treat it. Then you will study pharmacology. So this 4 microorganisms model will offer you to integrate microbiology, pathology, pharmacology. And this will be the gateway to pathophysiology and clinical pharmacology, which are not taught in Pakistan, but they are taught elsewhere in the West. And PMDC should consider this, that clinical pharmacology is important. So in third year, they should have a general pharmacology and clinical pharmacology, general pathology and special pathology. Before moving into clerkship is more meaningful. And in third year, they should have a physical examination thoroughly as possible. My professor in Germany used to say, those who know the art of physical examination, they run to the patient, and those who do not know, they run away from the patient. So that is the art one has to learn. Now we have got another constraint, which is between the American system and the British system. British system is more patient-oriented, and American system is more instrument-oriented. So this is a dilemma which we need to sort it out, because we are living in a third world country and we have to develop our public service. And the constraints are both health and education are highly commercialized, and our mother state is not able to provide all children health and education. This is because the children are suffering from malnutrition, consanguinity, and poverty, which forms the basis of our Tabqati Nizam. So we have to look into it. This is a serious matter. We cannot overlook it. So I would end here, and if there is any questions, I would be happy to. Could we? Dr. Umar?
Yes, sir.
Do you want me more to elucidate any? If you would ask me a question, I will be happy to.
Sir, you have time, 5 to 10 minutes. You can discuss more if you want.
Yeah, I think the other thing which is very important, that most of the assessment, because we have to see CSA. C means content, S means strategies, and A means assessment. So you have to see this three-dimensional X, Y, Z, the C, S, A, how is of your college, and how is the CSA of other colleges. Like there are 40 medical colleges in Punjab, and they have introduced 7 years ago, integrated modular curriculum. Then we have to see what was it before and what are the fruits and challenges after introduction of IMC. That would be a very good report to catch up and learn from for the whole country. It would be a brilliant model, because you might have already the data, and maybe Dr. Samina Malik and Dr. Umar, Dr. Aslam and others, they will put together a team and work up a paper. Would be very. The problem is, so if we ask a question, how does sound waves create images of the beating heart? And a lot of students, they are unable to understand. But if you ask how does the ultrasonography pick up the heart signals, they can reply, right? So this is in simpler English, they have a difficulty. Okay, how do sound waves create images of the beating heart? So, and if you give them the technical name of the ultrasonography, they pick up. So they don't know what is ultrasonography, right? So this is the problem. So the problem seems to be, from my point of view, the students have memorized the stuff, passed the exam, they get 90 out of 100, but most of the exams have a half-life of 3 months, right? And afterward, it is evaporated. But once you understand something, the concept becomes your friend and it remains with you. So understanding and memorization, if you plot memorization on y-axis and understanding on x-axis or vice versa, so you have to see what type of curve do you get. So there seems to be a hyperbolic relationship between understanding and memorization. The more you memorize, the less you understand. the more you understand, the less you memorize. So there might be three types of students, and you have to see where the students are located on hyperbolic curve between memorization and so. Of course, when you are dealing with a forest of curriculum and not few trees, memorization, you will pick and memorize things to pass the exam. And we all do it, right? So this is the problem which needs to be considered, that how to deal with the hyperbolic relationship between understanding and memorization, because under the given culture, and learning is always a function of culture, you see, and we cannot shed it off. So every student will, but one of the beauty of the medical students are they always learn in a group. And this group learning is really a survival. Like they are having a tough storm and they survive because they are together with 4 people and learning together. So group learning is one very big plus. This is their student strategies. The student always, they have their own strategies and they pick and choose. So if is it so if you have questions.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, we can take the questions at the end of all presentations.
I think this strategy of the end, that things get, I think you should follow the international one in which the fresh talk is given, that the fresh question will be there, because otherwise one is waiting and one doesn't know what one had talked. Anyhow, I would follow your things. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
Sir, thank you so much, sir. The next presentation is by Professor Dr. Simpath, Professor of Physiology, Faculty of Medicine, University of Ruhuna. The presentation will be on the use of Power Lab to record JVP.
Thank you. Baba,
yes. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes,
yes.
We can hear you.
Please share your presentation, sir.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I will share the presentation.
स्लाइड नहीं देगा
उसको बंद कर दो
Can you see it?
Yes, sir.
Right. Okay. So, although the topic is the skills beyond laboratory, I think I'm going to talk something in between, like related something in the lab, but not meant by the company. The Power Lab is hardware that is used to acquire physiological data. As I go on, I will explain what is actually beyond physiology. Lab skills is here too, as far as the academic that I'm concerned. Right? Okay. So if I just get you into perspective, what is Power Lab? So Power Lab is a hardware or a data acquisition system. Yeah,
We cannot hear you.
Sir, we can't hear you, please.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the screen. Okay, right. It's a data acquisition system produced by an Australian company, AD Instruments, which is available in several faculties of medicine in Sri Lanka. I hope some of the medical faculties in your country also may be having it. It is so what we have in our faculty is PowerLab 26T, which is shown here, which is although very small, very powerful, which can be used to acquire many data, including ECG, electromyogram, reflex time, the knee-jerk can. Yeah. So using that, some of the accessories are there. So this is one of the accessories sold by the company to demonstrate medical students or students about pulse wave. It is designed to measure or record fingertip pulse wave, that is arterial pulse. As you can see in this one, can you see this? The picture? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello? Right. Yeah. So this one is meant to wrap around the finger, and this sensor will record the pulse wave so that we can demonstrate the diacrotic knots and the different waveforms. So this is what it was meant for. So that is what I said, that going beyond normal skills, laboratory skills, I have a natural tendency of like improvising things. Earlier in 2016 and or 17, I converted my regular stethoscope into an electronic stethoscope, and which can record heart sounds and demonstrate the wave pattern, waveform, identify murmurs and various things. And that was 6-7 years ago. So this time when I saw this, I realized that this can be used to record jugular venous pulse wave. In fact, in our department, physiology department, we had a old machine which can record ECG, phonocardiogram, and jugular venous pulse wave simultaneously, but which kind of, because of its age, it gave way. It's no longer functioning. So I was looking for something like this, and then I tried this on one of our lab attendants, workers, and realized that it can be put to good use. So this PowerLab comes with what is called BioAmp, which can record ECG, like single lead ECG, and talking about jugular venous pulse, just to pulse refresh, it has AC V waves, and simultaneous recording will allow us to identify the wave. So A wave is due to atrial contraction, so it will come just after the P wave of the ECG. Then the QRS complex is there. Just after that, the C wave comes, that is the bulging of the tricuspid valve. And then next A wave and C wave comes as positive waves. What is in between is the V wave. Here, I think this one is a little artifact in this recording. So these are taken, downloaded from the web. Again, a similar thing here. So I will show you what I did. You can get, so this is my volunteer. So if you get him to lie down, doesn't matter, I mean, to inspect jugular venous pulse, you need to lie down the patient at, kind of support him at 45-degree inclination. But here for this purpose, it is not really necessary. Even flat lying, flat bed is okay. But here I had just, elevated his head a little bit. It will be apparent in the next few slides. So here you can see that his sternocleidomastoid muscle, which has two heads, the sternal head and the clavicular head. So in between the two heads, there's a little fossa, and at this point you can catch the jugular venous pulse wave. So So when you get the patient lie flat, the wave goes past this location where I kept. So actually, so this shows that this head end is slightly elevated, propped up, and then I kept that fingertip pulse sensor over that place, and then you have to secure it with a sellotape or transparent tape, because keeping our finger will disturb the recording. It will record, alterations of pressures applied by our finger also. So therefore, just keep it and secure it with a sellotape or a transparent tape, and then ask patient not to move his head, and another angle. And this is the power lab machine. So this bioamp section is connected here, which is connected to this one and to an ECG, so that we can get simultaneous ECG recording. And this one is connected to channel 1, the fingertip pulse sensor, which is then kept on the, between the two heads of the sternocleidomastoid muscle. And this is what we get using the software available that came with the machine, the lab chart software. So we can get the ECG recording in green here, and the pulse wave, jugular pulse wave in blue line here. So this wave, this is the P wave, and any positive wave just after P wave is the A wave, and any positive wave after the QRS complex is the C wave here. And this is the next A wave, is the next C wave. So what is in between is the V wave. Right? So this is the X descent, this is the Y descent. You can get this very nicely. Actually, from person to person, the configuration of the waveform is slightly different. But I use this now for several batches, like at least 3-4 batches of medical students with medical student volunteers. Very nice waves come in some of them. Some of them very difficult to record, depending on their hydration status and how strong the wave is. You get different waveforms. But this is what you get. This is fairly good enough for teaching. Same thing, truncated, and also the machine or the hardware comes with another software called Lab Tutor. Using that also, I could record the same thing. So this is one such recording. So this is, if you take here in this instance, this is the P wave. So just after the P wave is the A wave here. This is the QRS complex. After QRS complex, this is the C wave. This is next V wave, A, C, V. So nicely coming up. So there's several examples. So P wave, A wave coming after that, QRS complex with C wave, V wave, next A wave. So like that. So different waveforms, different configurations come with different volunteers. But still, for teaching purposes, this is excellent improvisation of the fingertip pulse sensor, which I put to good use in our physiology teaching program. Right. So that is all I have to say. So if you have Power Lab, the hardware, I think you can either if you have the fingertip pulse sensor, or if you can purchase it separately, you can put it to use in cardiovascular physiology teaching to teach jugular venous pulse form. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for this talk. Now the next presentation is on physiological aspects in space by Professor Kaushik, who is in health policy consultant, UNESCO, New Delhi, India. Professor Kaushik, please. रियासी आपने लगाई है, उन्होंने लगाई, अच्छा. Sir, we are unable to hear you, please. Presentation is there.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. First of all, I'd like to thank all the organizers. I would especially like to thank Professor Dr. Umar Ali Khan, the President of the Pakistan Physiological Society and the Pro Vice Chancellor of ISRA University, Islamabad. I consider this a great honor to be able to deliver this talk, and I thank you all. And as you can see, I'll be talking about the physiological aspects in space. There are many aspects, actually. I'll just highlight a few of them. There are many challenges also, and I'll highlight how to overcome those challenges. So, sorry. Yeah. So the space exploration started with these two astronauts. Yuri Gagarin was the first man in space, and he orbited the Earth for the very first time on 12th April 1961. 8 years later, Neil Armstrong landed on the moon, and he was the first man to set foot on the moon. And this was on 20th July 1969. Now, these two were great landmarks in space exploration. And since then, we have come a long way, and we have achieved many things in space exploration. Now we have our own, very own International Space Station, ISS. And this is a huge collaboration between all the major space agencies around the globe. And some of these, experiments or physiological aspects that I'll be discussing are being carried out in the International Space Station. So first, let's have a look at the physiological changes that occur in space. So we have short-term changes and long-term changes. There may be back pain that can occur because of the acceleration due to, that is required for launching. This can occur. A lot of G-force is exposed. And also you can get space motion sickness. The fluid shift occurs to the head region, so the sinuses and the nasal cavities can become congested. You can have headache. Anxiety might be there. These are all transient, actually. They will go away. But in the long run, you may have what is called SANS. This is the space flight associated neuroocular syndrome. Orthostatic symptoms can occur. This not in space, but as the astronaut comes down to Earth at zero gravity, then he or she experiences this. Bone density degradation also occurs, as does greater chances of kidney stone formation, and there are also radiation-induced changes, as well as muscle atrophy. These can all occur. With regard to cardiovascular changes, when we're on Earth, we are exposed to the gravitational pull as well as, muscle tone, and, as a result of which the fluid, body fluid, that is mainly the blood and the lymph, they get evenly distributed throughout the body. Now, in case of space, due to zero gravity, what happens, there is pooling of, blood and other fluids to the upper part of the body, and especially in the brain part. And, you get such and such symptoms. For example, puffy face. This astronaut, she's on Earth, and the same astronaut, she's on the International Space Station, and you can see the puffiness of her face. Also, the heart doesn't have much work to do, or much less work to do, as a result of which it can shrink. Also, the fluids move up to the upper part of the body, and then the, bone density increases, muscle mass decreases. All these things occur, as a result of which you get this type of leg, just like birds. That's why it's called bird legs. So there are many challenges in space, and I'll highlight these and how to overcome them. So first is the radiation hazards that astronauts face. This is a huge challenge, actually. And this is, the exposure is expressed in millisieverts. I put the unit, all the details of the unit of sievert here. And just to highlight that annual cosmic radiation that we get at sea level on Earth is just around, you can see here, 0.2 or 0.3 millisieverts. Whereas as you go up the scale, for example, if you're in the radiation worker, the annual radiation lab, annual exposure is around 20 millisieverts. Whereas if you spend around 6 months in the ISS, exposure is much higher, almost 90 millisieverts. And if you take a 180-day transit to Mars, or if you stay in Mars for 500 days, it has been estimated that the radiation exposure can be as high as almost 500 millisieverts. So this is a great challenge. And to overcome them, protective radiation shields have been developed. These are designed both for females and males, and these are usually worn inside the spacesuit. And it essentially protects the trunk of the body. That is the vital area where all the organs are present. So they are protected against radiation. Also, when a rocket launches, there is immense acceleration that the astronaut is exposed to. So you require a very high acceleration, which is known as escape velocity. That is the velocity that you require to escape the gravitational pull of the Earth and enter space. So it is its value is 7 miles per second. Just to put this into perspective, this is equivalent to 25,000 miles per hour, or around 40,000 kilometers per hour. So you can imagine how great the acceleration is. And during this takeoff, the body may be exposed to 6 to 8 G-forces. So this means 6 to 8 times more than more gravitational pull than what is experienced on Earth. As a result of which the blood pools in the legs and reduces blood flow to the brain. So the brain is deprived of oxygen, and there may be blackouts. And you can also get gravity-induced loss of consciousness. So to overcome this, anti-gravity or anti-G suits have been developed, and anti-G suits resemble tight-fitting trousers, as you can see here. They have inflatable bladders and G-sensitive valves. So there are sensors actually that can sense how much G-force the body is being exposed to. And if it exceeds a critical value, then it sends signals to the bladders and they inflate. So they inflate in the legs and they squeeze the leg muscles. And this actually elevates the blood pressure in the upper part of the body. And, they can avert the blackouts that they would otherwise, exposed to. And cardiovascular function is also normalized. Now, spacewalking is a very difficult and skillful task that is required for this. This is also called extravehicular activity, or EVA. So, in order to practice the experience in space, how you will do spacewalking correctly. So they have to do training underwater, which mimics nearly the space zero gravity situation. So there is a neutral buoyancy laboratory, or NBL, at the Johnson Space Station in Houston, Texas. And this is a huge pool, hundreds of meters in length and width, and around 50 meters or so deep. And the full, live replica of the International Space Station is present under the water. And these astronauts, they dress up in the full gear and they're lowered down and they do practice, intense practice actually. You can see here, they are practicing underwater in this NBL. And it's very dangerous actually also, because they're just tethered to the spaceship by a cord, so to speak. And it's a highly risky type of operation. This is the practice, and this is the actual one in space, where the astronaut is doing repairs, etc., on the outer side of the spaceship. Another major challenge that is faced is space motion sickness. We all know about the vestibular apparatus and the function of the semicircular canals and the otolith organ, etc. This was studied in the Barani chair, which was invented by Robert Barani, and he studied the role of vestibular apparatus on the sense of balance, and he was awarded a 1914 Nobel Prize in Physiology of Medicine for his studies. And this is how the Barani chair looks in real life. And this is twirled around. It spins very fast. The operator spins this, and the subject is put on blindfolds and a earmuff. And once he's twirled around at high speed, all of a sudden this spinning is stopped, and he is asked to point at a particular direction. And if he is able to do this correctly, it means that his vestibular function responds very well, and he is given approval, for going to space. This is one of the tests. Another challenge is the decrease in bone density. On Earth, we are exposed to gravity all the time, and we carry weights, and these actually strengthen the bones. But in these bones, the major cells are the osteoblasts and the osteoclasts, and these are responsible for remodeling bones. Osteoblasts increase bone density by synthesizing new bone tissue, whereas osteoclasts decrease the bone density because it breaks down bone tissue, as a result of which the bone density is reduced. So research has shown that 16 to 28 weeks in space can result in 3.5% reduction in bone density. And, the majority, that is 97% of the reduction occurs in weight-bearing bones, that is pelvis, femur, tibia, and fibula. You can see a normal bone, like dense bone tissue on Earth. And when you go to space, you can get porous tissue like this. It just resembles a person who has osteoporosis, essentially. So bone density is also measured. On Earth, what we do, we use what is called a DEXA scan, you must be knowing. That is dual energy X-ray absorptiometry. In space, human bone density is not measured. They use this type of densitometer. This is present inside, and when you pull it out, it looks like this. And they measure the bone density of small rodents like mice and rats. So they put the animal inside, and they measure the density over time, actually, due to exposure to weightlessness. You can see a scan of a mice. This is the hind legs here. This is the tail, this is the vertebral column, and this is the forelegs. And so you get a very good idea of the density due to exposure to, zero gravity. So the only way to treat this is to exercise. This is a physiological process. The other two are pharmacological interventions, that is using vitamin D or biphosphonate once a week. So I'll just highlight how biphosphonate works. When bone resorption occurs, the osteoclasts have to attach to the bone cells, and this attachment is facilitated by an enzyme called farnesyl pyrophosphate synthase. Now, without this enzyme, the osteoclasts can't attach. So what biphosphonate does, it actually blocks the action of this enzyme, farnesyl pyrophosphate synthase, as a result of which the osteoclasts can't attach to the bone cells, and bone resorption is stopped. So this is the basic mechanism. So also muscle mass is lost because there is less physical exertion in space due to zero gravity. Skeletal muscles are used much less often, leads to muscular atrophy, and muscle strength also decreases. Isokinetic strength also falls by 8 to 17%, and it has been found that 110 to 237 days in space results in 30% loss of muscle strength, as a result of which astronauts have to exercise at least 2 hours daily to maintain muscle mass. Here you can see an astronaut using the treadmill. It's similar to what we use on Earth, except she's strapped with bungee cords here so that she doesn't start, floating. And other aspects are the same. Also, cycle ergometers are used for, increasing muscle strength. For example, it's similar to the ergometer that the bicycle exercise machine that we use. And just, the resistance increases in this case, similar to what we do when we ride a, gear fitted bicycle. When we increase the, move up the gear, then the resistance increases. It gets tougher to pedal. Same thing occurs here. And when the resistance increases, the muscle strength is required. And so the muscle becomes strengthened. There is also another advanced resistance exercise device. This is essentially a multi-gym. You can do many types of exercises here. And the only difference between what we have on Earth and what we have here in the International Space Station is that on Earth, we use weights to, increase the load. And whereas here, due to zero gravity, they don't use load. Instead, they use air pressure to operate this machinery. So lastly, there is also dysregulation of the immune system. Immune cells are highly sensitive to microgravity. Normal function becomes dysregulated. Immune responses become suppressed, and the astronauts become more susceptible to infections. As you know, that immunity protects us against pathogens. So this is disrupted, and microgravity affects, all the aspects essentially of immune cells. For example, the structure, activation, proliferation, differentiation, as well as metabolism. If we look at the cells individually, we can see that the macrophage, the number of cells and the oxidative burst both decrease. The dendritic cells, these are the antigen presenting cells of the skin. And here also the number of cells, phagocytosis capacity, and antigen presentation also decrease. In case of neutrophils also, although the cells increase slightly, phagocytosis capacity is not there. Now these two cells, they are the main cells of the immune system, that is the B lymphocytes and the T lymphocytes. And these form the two arms of the adaptive immune response. For example, the humoral arm has the B lymphocytes or B cells, and here the immune response is mediated by antibodies, whereas the T lymphocytes, they form the cellular arm of the adaptive immune system, and here the immunity is mediated by CTLs or cytotoxic T lymphocytes. In both cases, you can see the number of cells, cytokines secreted, etc. These are decreased due to microgravity. In case of other blood cells like monocytes, eosinophils, and basophil, all the parameters again are decreased. In case of NK cells, this is the natural killer cells. These cells are the components of the innate immune response. That is, innate immune response is a generalized instant immune response that occurs when the body is exposed to a pathogen. Whereas these two are components of the adaptive immune response, as I just mentioned, and this adaptive immune response is more fine-tuned actually. And so it is more, specific. In case of NK cells also, you can see the number of cells and the killing ability both decrease. Now, for restoration of immune function, I'm afraid that there is no physiological means, although exercise and having a healthy diet does increase the general health and general, immune activity. But when there is a big dysfunction, you need pharmacological intervention. For example, activation of cell signaling pathways or phytotherapeutic approaches. In this case, you can use cytokines like IL-12, IL-15 or their combination. They stimulate the NF-kappa B signaling pathway and cause activation, proliferation, metabolism, all these things in the immune cells so that the immune system is kickstart again. And it is found by various studies that polysaccharides actually, they have an inherent capacity to stimulate the immune system, and various plant polysaccharides are used. They stimulates the activation and proliferation of the immune cells by increased expression of cytokines. So in this case, therapeutic approach, you're applying the cytokines from outside. Here, what the plant polysaccharides are doing, they're stimulating de novo for expression of the cytokines. There are other plant polysaccharides and other pharmacological agents present in plants that protect immune cells by inhibiting apoptosis. This is programmed cell death or cell suicide, more popularly. And also they prevent necrosis induced by microgravity. So if these are prevented, the immune system has the time to revive itself and it can, become active again. There are also other various types of polysaccharides, other things. For example, morin, it restores immune cell function by affecting protein phosphorylation and targets TLR4, this is toll-like receptor 4, and complement receptor 3, CR3, to restore immune cell function. So these techniques and these experiments are very, very important, especially when we go to deep space exploration. For example, plans to go to Mars, send a manned mission is already on, and it's a matter of years now. And when humans travel so far into space, what they will experience will be revealed to some extent by these types of experiments that are being carried out at the International Space Station. So I'll stop here, and I thank all of you for your kind attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kaushik. You really have taken us out of the physiology lab to space. We are thankful to you for this informative talk. The house is open for questions, please. If anyone wants to ask any question regarding all these presentations of today, you are welcome.
Except journalism.
Except journalism.
Yes, could I ask a question to Dr. Kaushik?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. I think this topic was very, very interesting. So does it mean what the Carl Sagan has proposed, that the life is only possible so far only at the blue dot?
So far as we, yeah, yes, sir.
And so in the vast universe, how the blue dot has hospitalized us. And if we move anywhere out of the blue dot, we are in trouble.
Yeah, actually, essentially, this is a great thing because in the sense that the Earth is situated at such a position that it is conducive for life. All the other areas, it's not conducive. But, Carl Sagan, he was responsible at that time. He was alive then when the Voyager 1 was sent. And that is in just, exiting the solar system right now. There is a chance, there is a lot of chance. In fact, mathematicians have said, I think Professor Hawkins has also indicated this in his calculations, that there is a statistically highly significant chance that this type of environment could exist anywhere in the galaxy. We just don't have the capacity to locate them. Although the Hubble telescope has a high capacity to penetrate deep into space, but still, we don't have solid proof, solid evidence, although we have received radio signals from deep in space, but it's still, no definitive proof is there. Thank you.
And I was surprised to read your CBC complete blood count responses of microgravity, the only cell which there was increased was leukocytes. They were all down. How would you explain this?
Neutrophils were the ones slightly up. To be very frank, it's very difficult to say the difference. But in case of, in case of the other cells, why they go down, essentially the metabolism and etc., they are affected actually. They are influenced by gravity, as are other functions of the body, though at the cellular level also, there is effect of gravity. This is what it indicates. And it suppresses many of the biochemical reactions, etc., that are responsible for maturation and multiplication, all these things, reproduction of the cells, as a result of which the numbers decrease. So it could, influence the cell division also. That can be happening also. That is why the number is decreasing.
But the blessing at the sea level with all facilities, and now you are going into the space where at 64,000 feet, there is no oxygen. Well, how life would be possible?
No, they have an artificial environment actually within the space. Yeah.
I'm talking naturally in the universe. The oxygen is only till 64,000 feet. Even when we fly over 40,000 feet, we are supposed to use mask. So
actually, this is about Earth we're talking about, but there may be many galaxies. There are, in fact, they have calculated, and which may have this type of environment, and life will exist only in those, if we call them planets, in those environments that have a gravity, that have an atmosphere. Only then the life will flourish, and not in space itself.
So here is a great puzzle. In a universe ruled by the second law of thermodynamics, how it is possible to generate sort of complexity represented by you and me?
It may not be like us at all, actually. We are the product of millions of years of evolution. So yeah, we know that evolution can go in any direction actually. For example, if we draw a phylogenetic tree, then the rhesus monkeys, they diverged 10 million years ago, and the chimpanzees, which is closest to us, diverged 5 million years ago. So evolution pattern, if it does occur in an alien planet, the life forms may be widely different, and the complexity may be totally different actually, and the laws may not work there. Thermodynamics may not be the same. I mean, now not just galaxies, there are ideas, by many scientists that there may be many universes also. So these things are there.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Everyone, before I request the President, Pakistan Physiological Society, to conclude the seminar, I would like to announce the topics for next seminar of the Pakistan Physiological Society. As the application of physiology is incomplete unless it is linked with the pathophysiology. So in order to accomplish this, the title of our forthcoming seminar will be, inshallah, Pathophysiology of Cardiovascular and Respiratory Diseases. This seminar will be on 19th of July, the same time at 10 o'clock. One additional point for the next seminar is that we would like to invite the medical students also as a presenter as well as audience in the next monthly seminar. So this will facilitate their learning also and understanding and linking the concepts of physiology with pathophysiology. Over to President Pakistan Physiological Society for conclusion.
Thank you very much, all of you, especially Professor H.R. Ahmed, whom I've seen after a long time, and wonderful to hear from him, and also Professor Sampath and Professor Bharti, who really, what General Secretary said, he took us to the space. And the questions of Professor H.R. Ahmed kept us floating. Thank you very much, all of you. And I hope General Secretary will send you the shields of presentation by post, inshallah. Thank you very much, all of you. God bless you.
All the best to you.
Thank you very much. Grateful, sir.
All the best.
Thank
Okay,
you.
sir. आपकी शीट ले सर की शीट जरा बस ठीक है बस एक तो वो तस्वीर इसमें कंबाइन कर दे तस्वीर कर
ओके
वो बंद कर दो
ऐसे बंद कर
वो बंद कर
Ooh.